Okay, so calling to order the October 26th meeting of the IT Advisory Committee. Oh, there's Jonathan Burge joining, which is great. Thanks everyone for coming. First order of business is, here's Jonathan Green. Kristen told me she was not going to be able to make it. She's got a family conflict. So we'll be without Kristen. Who we will, Phil RSVP'd, so we should have Phil joining us shortly. Okay. So I think the first order of business is to approve the minutes from the earlier in October meeting. What was it, the 5th, I think? Dave, do you have those? Do you want me to let you share, or?
I do not have them. I think Jim put those together and put them up. They're done on a Google Drive. I saw them, but I did not save off a copy.
Jim, do you have them, or do you want me to bring them up?
I'll bring them up. That would be good. You may have, I can find them, but it might take a minute.
Yeah, I got them right here. John Burge is requesting AI companion.
I'm too afraid to do it at work, but here I figure why not?
Absolutely. Got
awesome.
It. What is this? What is the AI companion going to do?
I think it's our responsibility as the ITAC to find out. There's more to come. I got another one coming your way.
Does AI want to be the chair?
There you go. Well, that's the solution.
So I'm going to suggest that AI companion be turned off because we have official meeting minutes that are done by the secretary. And I think if there are meeting minutes that are separately generated by AI companion, that may cause confusion.
Okay. I didn't even know I didn't know it generated minutes.
It says we'll send the meeting summary to invitees after the meeting ends.
Yeah, but we wouldn't submit those as minutes, right? I mean,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to do that. We'll take, Dave will take minutes like old school, but I'd love to see what it generates. I think that's fucking awesome. Oh, sorry.
You're going to regret that one.
AI companion just picked up that comment.
AI, could you please edit my last comments?
Well, I just want to say
it's okay. It'll say ducking.
I just want to observe that the minutes probably will be part of the public record if they were discussed in the meeting, or we should discuss if they become part of the public record separately from the minutes.
The discussion of the AI minutes becomes part of the public record in the official minutes.
You know what? I think as the IT Advisory Committee, it's almost our responsibility to see what that entails and be able to report out, say, you know what, maybe you want to do this. I hear you, Jim. I know what you're talking about. I really do.
We can ask the town council.
I'm making a note that we're enabling it for this meeting as a test, and that what it does will not be the official minutes, but we want to see how useful it is. Is that a fair way to do it?
Yeah, I also want to raise the issue of if it's a document that's produced by this committee, whether the document itself has to be made available to the general public.
Well, it could be. I don't see a problem, even if it's totally wrong. You know, it's an experiment that we're trying, and it's just data.
We have been recording our meetings for years and posting them to YouTube.
That's true.
But are you required
Honestly,
to post the recordings?
The town has not taken much interest in that. I mean, I've made clear that I'm posting them to my, YouTube account, and they're there. But the town is looking for, what the open meeting law specifies they need to look for, and not much else. Which is minutes, a notice of meeting posted in a proper, time frame, and I think you check off those boxes, and we've done what we need to do under open meeting law, and so be it.
Well, it'll be a
somebody
learning
does an open
experience.
meeting request, an open record law request for video of our meeting, the town may say, hey, Paul, where's the video of that meeting? I would supply it.
Okay.
Well, it'll be a learning experience.
Yeah.
It may be that we learn that we're not supposed to do this, but we'll find out.
But honestly, like going forward, if we can have AI assistants just take copious and exact notes of everything that is said in public meetings, that would be a huge benefit to the public. Because as we all know, not every committee has a secretary as capable as Mr. Goldberg to take notes and post them in a, timely manner. So
Dave also posts them for the most part in a very nice summarized manner.
yes,
I don't know, AI companion probably can do that. But,
I'm just registering my concern. I'm done with that. We can move on.
okay.
Well, one thing we should make note of is whether we have to spend a lot more time correcting the minutes next month, or whether we have to spend less time.
Yeah.
Because maybe we'll look at the meetings and say, "Wow, that thing didn't get it."
I mean, one of my coworkers right now uses this program called, I forget what it's called exactly, but it's basically like every meeting he has, this thing is running and it records it, and then it generates like a transcript based on the meeting, and then summary points as well. It's an
It does
AI.
produce reports.
Huh?
It does produce summary points. That's interesting.
So
Because what this is starting to remind me of, with if it didn't produce summary points, is simply like having a court reporter. That hears everything
yes,
and
yeah.
transcribes. And to be honest with you, that's probably too much verbatim, but we'll see.
Yeah, your friend's application sounds like a discovery lawyer's daydream.
Oh yeah. What is it called? Hold on a second. I want to say summarize it, but it's not summarize it. Summarize it is a ChatGPT plugin. And it's not that. It is. Is it Fireflies, maybe? Fireflies? Yeah, I think that might be
That
right.
sounds kind of familiar.
Paul, if you refresh, I gave you edit access to that doc as well as Dave.
Okay. Okay, so let's just go through the minutes here, moving on. And thank you, Jim, for stepping in.
Yeah, my gratitude to everybody who covered for me while I was out. I expected to miss one. I'm sorry, I ended up missing 3.
Well, really, really sorry to hear about your loss. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But the other 2 were vacations, so if you had in fairness to me, the first one I expected to miss in July because I knew I was going to be away. You moved the August one.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That was my bad. I know you were going to be there. Okay. Meeting call to order. Ethics training. Yeah. Still got to do that. Okay, I think I did get an email from Patrice, so I will, and Dave on that. Do have an update on Belmont Light.
Should it be Belmont Light, or should it be Belmont Municipal Light Department?
BMLD, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of formal name. Belmont Municipal Light Department. Belmont Light Board.
They call themselves Belmont Light on their website now.
Okay.
Yeah, on their bills as well.
Yep.
I'm disappointed we weren't consulted on their electric chargers in the parking lot, because boy, did they mess up that decision.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Maybe they don't
they
see
went
that
with a
as
couple
an,
off-brand chargers, and like they just don't work.
maybe
Ugh.
they don't see that as an information thing. They see that as a electrical thing. I don't know.
I think
Um,
it's the IT side of it though that's broken, but
yeah. Why did they do that?
I don't know.
These
They had
the ones
perfectly
that are in the
working
parking
chargers. That were-
lot, like behind, like in the town center?
Yeah, the commuter parking
Yeah.
lot.
Ugh.
Hey, Jonathan, do you happen to know if the charges they've got at the Shaw Market parking lot, whether they're okay or not? This is
Last I was there, they weren't working, but it's been a while since I've been there.
I've used the ones at the Shaws and they've worked for me.
How recently?
2-3 months.
Okay, that's
Um,
more recently than I was there.
Jim, I would say Mr. Roberts and Mr. Barrett's met with the school committee earlier this week.
You can feel free to change that. Or I can change it if you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Paul Roberts underneath ITAC elections. Last sentence. The first paragraph. Go up. I'm not sure who's driving at this point, but
Jim's driving.
yeah.
I'm not driving the screen share.
Oh, I'm driving the screen share. What do you need me to do? Sorry, go up. Sorry.
It's done.
Good.
It was a typo of Paul's name?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I fixed that.
Yeah, fixed.
Sorry. Okay, those look good to me. Anybody have any other edits or requests, or suggestions on these? If not, somebody want to move to approve?
move to approve.
Seconded.
Okay. Mr. Green,
I'm in favor.
Mr. Ellard,
Aye.
Mr. Smart,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts, aye, and Mr. Goldberg.
I'm gonna abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay, and Mr. Barrett.
I'm going to abstain because of the tradition of people not voting on their own minutes.
Whew, narrowly passes by 3-2.
No, it's a 5 to almost
three
nothing.
yeses and 2 abstentions. Yeah.
I
5
didn't vote.
yeses. Oh, Jonathan didn't vote? I thought I heard you.
I vote aye for the record.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought I heard him call you. I guess I.
Oh,
think that
you
was
know what? I
Green.
forgot about John Burge. I'm sorry. Yeah, John.
It's a problem with two
Jonathan Burge.
Jonathans.
It's 5 yeses and 2 abstains.
1, 2, 3,
fine.
4, 5. Yes, you're right. You're right. My bad. Okay, so I'll stop
Enough.
sharing. And
And
next,
I'll take the action to send them to town clerk. I'm
oh, thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay, let me just 1 sec here. Let me switch back, get my agenda out. Okay, so the next order of business is public comments or questions. I don't see anybody on the line. So the cyber IR plan and the town. Hold on one sec. So I did email Patrice. I thought we went over this last time.
I
And
think didn't Phil volunteer to follow up?
I can't recall. Is that did he?
Yeah, it's in the minutes.
Phil Lawrence.
Volunteer.
I do recall seeing an email from Phil to Dave, and hang on, I can find it real quick.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. From October 5th.
Yeah.
And then Dave responded, "Hi, Phil. A vendor has been chosen, New Harbor Security. I'm gathering information. I need to create a proposal. Should have that off to them next week." Okay. Wow. Great progress. Thanks for the update. Anything ITAC can lend a hand with? That was
And that was it.
on the 6th, and that was the end of the thread.
Right.
Maybe I'll just do a reply and be like, "Hey, Dave, could ITAC take a look at the New Harbor proposal? Thanks." Okay, so let's just follow up with that, stay in the loop, much as they might want to cut us out. And hold on one sec. Okay, next. So let's just see. Other stuff on the cyber IR plan. I want to talk about Belmont Light Department in a second, but outside of that, I guess we'll take a look at this New Harbor proposal and see if it seems adequate to us. I don't know much about this firm. Does anybody here? I think that was Dave's first. I think that was a company Dave had in mind. I can't recall.
It was one of the three that he was talking about, as I
Yeah.
recall. I recognized the name. They seem like a pretty reasonable MSSP type of. They're all a dime a dozen. There's so many of them. I don't know too many specifics about them, but when I took a look at their website, they seemed to be okay. I remember from back in the spring when we were looking at the vendors on the state list.
Right. Okay.
And I can find that spreadsheet and look at what my comments were, but as I recall, none of them looked like they'd be problematic.
So, I mean, I think one of the things when we look at this, and I mean, maybe we should just kind of have an idea of what we're looking for, what we want to see, or what we think the town needs. But I mean, for me, the number one thing is, again, that this is a whole of town plan and not just, well, we're hired by the town, and so it's a town focused IR plan, right? That this is comprehensive. That would be the kind of number one thing on my list.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. And also that, there would be some ability of this company to not only write it, but also help us to, implement it, do, tabletop exercises or something like that, that they're not just going to drop a 3-ring binder on the desk and walk away. Those would be the kind of big concerns I had.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember whether there were a couple of financial numbers that were discussed. One for about 25,000, one for I think over 100,000. We'll of course find out what the vendor proposed.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of wondering, is this for the whole ball of wax, which would be the $100,000 plus? I think so.
Yeah. Really good question. Yeah. What is the scope? What are we paying for, and what are we getting? I think that's definitely an important question to ask. Make sure we understand. Patrice did say we got a $22,000 grant from MIIA, which is, I think, an insurance industry or organization. And she said, I realize it won't be enough, but it could go towards whatever we determine to be the final cost. So I guess that's the other important question, as Charlie said, which is, what idea do we have of the full price tag here? And, how far down the road is this contract going to get us? Yeah. Okay. I mean, I would think asset discovery would need to be part of like any comprehensive, right? Like incident response plan or, you know, yeah. So just understanding what we've got deployed and, you know, where the juiciest targets are and, you know, what level of security we have around those. I mean, you know, basic blocking and tackling like that. But
Yeah, but
yeah.
like we had with that, we had the discussion with the select board, you know, and we started to confuse Roy. It's an incident response plan. It's not an entire risk assessment.
Right.
That's another animal.
Right.
And that's not what they're apparently that's not what they're paying for. Although my sense is I think Dave once said they did something like that, although it may have been too IT focused some number of years ago as
Right.
part of one of his cybersecurity evaluations. And again, that probably didn't have quite the level of scope we want.
Right. So maybe it might be wise to get Dave into our November meeting and just kind of have him, you know, take a look at this report between now and then, and maybe just have him available to answer some questions. And if we need to, provide follow-up to Patrice and, you know, the other powers that be, you know, school committee chair, you know, Greg at the light department, and, you know, just kind of get Matt, obviously get everybody kind of, you know, in the loop. Kind of be a little bit of the bridge between these different groups, because again, I think everybody, all these different groups are going to need to be involved in this effort if we want to end up with a good end product. Okay, so yeah, let's maybe just plan on having Dave in next meeting, and in between now and then getting a copy of this proposal, and then, you know, figuring out what questions we want to ask. Okay.
It might be a good thing to suggest to all of us that we read it before, if we can get it.
Say that again, Charlie.
It might be a good idea to suggest to the committee members that if we can get that proposal in an expeditious manner, that we all read it before the meeting.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Good conversation with Dave.
Yep. Okay.
I guess recommendation.
Okay. So Belmont Municipal Light Board, I've been going back and forth with Craig, the general manager, and he has proposed a meeting for November 6th in the morning. And I wanted to swing that by, I've kind of tentatively agreed to that and wanted to just swing it by the committee here and see if we can get a small group of us to attend. I'm pretty sure we definitely don't want to have a quorum at this meeting.
Right.
But if we could get, you know, 3 or 4 of us to attend, yeah, that would be great. I'm happy to attend, and whoever else, Jim, Dan, Dave, Charlie, Jonathan, John.
That's still scheduled for the 3rd
I have it
or
for the 6th.
the 6th. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check that.
I had this 3rd as well.
Did you? Okay, hold on. Let me just.
It may have changed. There may have been, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Pretty sure. Hold on one sec.
Actually, it was in the minutes, it was the 3rd or the 17th.
So Craig emailed me just checking in. Was ITAC able to agree on a date for the 11/6 week? Just want to be sure to give my vendor. Okay, so I guess we hold on. And so we had talked about 8 a.m. as a start time. He said morning meetings are better for them. Let me just see if he had any. How does the week of 11/6 work? Outside of Veterans Day holiday that Friday, it looks like we are all here, so any day should work. So I think sorry, I stand corrected. We haven't decided on a day. We just decided on a week. to meet, and that is the week of November 6th. And
Paul, in your email that you forwarded on the 15th of October, he says Craig Spinelli has proposed November 6th in the morning for a meeting.
yeah, so that Monday, yeah. I'm not sure if I was just misreading his email and misunderstanding him, and he was really just throwing out that.
Oh, okay.
But I think if we want to do it on the 6th, that would be fine with them. The 7th is election day, and obviously Friday is Veterans Day. So I think, probably Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I'm just going to throw out there, I've got, yeah, I mean, any of those days would work for me. But if we want to just set it on Monday and just go with that, I think that's probably fine with him. People can accommodate that.
We're going to be out of state.
You are? Okay.
Monday morning is not possible for me. The only morning, if we're talking about like early morning, like 8 o'clock, the only morning I can do that week is Thursday.
Thursday. Can others
Yeah.
do Thursday? I can do Thursday.
I mean, I can do any of them, but again, we want to make sure we don't have more than 4 of us, right?
Yeah.
I won't, I typically have a moral objection to 8 a.m. meetings, so I'll stand down for this.
Moral?
So Dan, David, Paul, I could ask Kristen or John, sorry, or Jim. I don't know if either of you, I mean, it's, nobody really wants to throw their hand in the air for an 8 a.m. meeting, but.
No, I'm happy to meet at 8. It depends on the particular day and how long the meeting's going to run. If it's 8 o'clock for a couple hours, that might, if it's only an hour, that's usually pretty clear.
I think it's going to be like an hour. And I think he's going to have, this is just here's who we are, but he's also, we're going to talk about the whole incident response project. He's going to have, I think, one of his vendors there, probably virtually, their MSSP, to answer questions if we have them. And I think we should probably go in with some questions prepared, just in terms of, their planning and, maybe some specifics around, what they are. But yeah, so I don't think it's going to be a 2-hour meeting. I don't think they've got that kind of time, but I think it's an hour meeting. And again, the idea was, let's us talk with them directly. And then at some point in the near, not distant future, sit down with the light board, their governing body, and talk to them. But I think Craig rightly was like, why don't you come talk to our staff first and figure out, we can, probably answer a lot of your questions, and then we can present to the light board at some point after that. So if Thursday works, I will put that out there, and the 4 of us can do it. I can reach out to Kristen and see if she's interested, and if she is, one of us can step back. But
Right.
Well, I mean, if there's another subset of people that can do it on a different day, then
yeah,
Go ahead.
I'll throw out Thursday and then maybe Monday as a backup, and we'll see how that goes. Okay.
Yeah, and we can figure out which subset of us is going after you figure out the day with them.
Okay. And then
draw straws. Yeah.
I do think the other thing would be just what do we want to get out of this meeting? What questions do we want to ask them, or what information do we want to ascertain? And, for me, it's, stuff about, cyber readiness, really, and planning, staffing. I think some concerns around some of the specifics of, threats to that particular industry that are different from just your run-of-the-mill, types of things. Doctor's office might have to, contend with, really specific to, the critical infrastructure and electricity distribution. So I do want to just have that little conversation with them too, make sure that stuff's on their radar. And then also just kind of read them in on what's going on at the higher level around the town-wide IR plan, and try and get them involved in that. Talking to Dave and the right people to make sure that.
Don't we also find out I don't know what they actually mean by a managed security service provider, what that type of organization that's special.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what it sounds like. I mean, they manage their firewall, they probably manage their endpoint detection, network
Mhm.
monitoring, via, both cloud-based and on-prem. They've got, monitoring software. They probably have agents deployed, and they're just sitting there looking at the feeds. And obviously, if stuff pops up, people click on bad email attachments, and they're helping them to resolve that. I mean, that's arguably how you can have a one-person IT department, is if you've got some capable contractors working behind the scenes. I think so.
So I'm sort of wondering if this is just off the top of my head, whether they consider that MSSP as being sufficient in terms of providing Belmont Light and its cyber incident response plan, which of course might not be exactly what we want to hear, because that tends to suggest that they are confident that they can go it alone. Maybe they can.
Right.
Part of it.
Right. And again, I think raising some of the specific, like, there are different types of cyber threats out there for different types of industries, and just kind of get the awareness around those, because MSSPs serve a wide range of different industries, but there are ones that are specialized for certain types of customers. And there definitely are those for, critical infrastructure and electricity. Not necessarily that they need something like that, but
It would be
We'll
interesting.
find out if that's what they have, right?
yeah,
And
just,
If somebody could get in and hack the electrical distribution in Belmont, they can really create a catastrophe. But if for the time being they think they've got this covered, I guess that's good news.
yeah, but good to have folks like us there to sort of say, well, have you thought about this, and what about that? And
I agree. But again, what do they do for them? How do they do it?
So I guess I will get back to Craig, nail down a date, and how do we want to, I mean, it would be good to do some brainstorming about, generally kind of what questions we want to ask. I don't know, maybe we can all break out our chat GPT instance here. Do some prompt engineering. But probably just have maybe have a shared document where we've got some questions we can have ready for them. And I'm not an expert in this. Some of you guys are a lot more informed on the types of noodly questions we should be asking them, to just kind of get a sense of what's going on. So that's that. So yeah, figure an hour. It'll be Craig, it'll be Robin, it'll be, I don't know if they have other staff there who will take part. No problem, Dan. And then they'll have I think their MSSP. I'm not sure if they have other vendors who they're going to have there, but I think they're MSSP.
Well, that's good. I mean, I would think that one of the things that is very important for us to better understand is what the MSSP does.
He's doing. Yeah.
And they provide in the way of, if anything, cybersecurity.
Yep.
So that could be at least one of the topics.
Yep.
well, the fact that they're an MSSP it implies cybersecurity. In fact, more so than regular IT. That's just one S if it's regular IT. And some of them will do both. As part of a comprehensive service. Some of them are very focused on one or the other.
Yep.
I will tell you that the MSP that my synagogue is considering, well, they're considering a couple of them. Only one of them really does cybersecurity in the way that you would have like an MSSP do, where they're basically running like a SOC for them.
Yep.
The other guys are, they have, basic log alerts and things like that, but they're not doing a full SOC. And of course, we can't afford the full SOC, so we're not going to get it. But for a small synagogue, that's probably okay. For an electric company, that's probably not okay.
That's right. Yeah, and I mean, I did Google this MSSP, and seems like they work across a lot of different, like they're just like a small enterprise and MSSP from what I can tell, like not specialized critical infrastructure or anything. They just, kind of work with, all kinds of companies. So yeah, not necessarily a problem, but we need to learn more.
Just out of curiosity, Dave, since I don't know what an MSSP does, is this the type of thing that's a 24/7 service that's provided? I would think so.
Yes. That's why many of the MSPs are not doing MSSP. Because for traditional IT, you can get away with not being a 24/7 shop.
Oh, yeah, okay. So this is sort of the outsourced IT support taken to a higher level.
Well, different level. It's not really higher because, like I said, they're not doing the traditional IT stuff for them. They're not managing their desktops. They're not, doing any account management or any of that stuff. They are simply watching for security events and installing and and configuring and monitoring the stuff it takes to do that.
So does your synagogue have somebody who's doing the more conventional IT support stuff?
No, that's all they're going to get is the conventional IT support. We have no staff. We've been dumping it on our office staff who are not trained system administrators, plus a contractor / consultant who is, basically ad hoc service. He comes in, he'll do projects. He stood up the network for them. When something breaks, they call him. He comes in and fixes it. But, there's no monitoring or anything going on. So that's sadly that used to be considered okay because they had moved so many of the things that they considered sensitive to software as a service type providers. And, essentially, if somebody broke into the network, at least they're not going to find the finances and the membership directory and stuff like that. They'll find a bunch of files with the rabbi's sermons on them and things of that nature. But I mean, it still could be, very disruptive, and so they want to get better. But ultimately, the thing that's driving it is the office staff just can't deal with it. We've become much more technology dependent. We've got all the Zoom stuff and things like that, and it's just the way it's been going is not working well enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's increasingly a lot of this cyber stuff, like you need skill sets that just are not easily obtainable, and
Right.
So it's just it's like a scale thing. These companies, they got hundreds of clients, they can afford malware reverse analysis people, and SOC monitors to look, and so it's just a way to kind of get those services down to companies or organizations that no way they could afford it themselves. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense for BMLD, no question. But again, just want to make sure that we feel
We lost
good
Jonathan.
about what we're hearing.
Merge.
Yeah, John needed to drop off, fortunately.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so I will get back to him. I'll propose that Thursday, the 9th, the 6th, Monday as a backup, and we will determine between now and then what group of 3 or 4 of us are going to go in. Okay.
Yep.
Works for everybody. Works for me.
Sounds good.
Yep. Let's see. BPL follow-up with Peter Sturziero. I did not. I don't think I heard back from Peter. Let me just see. Sorry. Yeah, I have not heard back yet, but I will reach out to him again and follow up just again. And where we left that last time was we just needed a little bit more information on what he was looking for with that grant program and how he was looking for us to help him with that. And whether it's something that's in our purview or not. So I will follow up with him. I do not have anything new to report on that.
Can I inject a library comment here if you're done with?
You certainly can. Yeah, go ahead.
So, given Jonathan Burge's comments earlier about the issues with the EV chargers that are at BMLD, I understand the library is installing like 6 chargers as part of their plan, which is a great idea, but I wonder how we can assist with not having a similar thing happen again. EV charger reliability is like a problem everywhere, and it would be nice if this went.
So how are these things? I don't have an EV. How are these things not reliable? I'm confused. Is it just like flaky software?
I haven't looked at information that talks about that, but a lot of them are run by independent networks. So there's a whole bunch of different independent charging networks, and I think, you know, depending on the vendor, they do a better or worse job at maintaining them. I think a lot of them are in distributed 2 or 3 charge ports per location, and so, you know, Tesla installs like 6 to 12 ports in a location, so they probably are more concentrated and easier to maintain.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of reports of people like planning on charging in a particular location, showing up, and then you almost always have to have a plan B.
really?
Because if it's not if it's not working and you're planning on that, particularly as part of like a long distance trip. So
You're screwed.
My understanding is too that I think it's a reasonable thing for us to maybe ask for some information from the people who are designing the library. You know, we do have, I would assume, some lead time on this because they have yet to knock down the old library. Who knows what the lead time is in ordering this stuff. However, another thing that sort of factors into this to make sure that we get the right charges is that there seems to be some consolidation in this area. In other words, the major car manufacturers are sort of, aren't they striking agreements with Tesla to sort of standardize?
Yeah, most of them are adopting Tesla's charging standard because it's more popular in the United States, and so a number of them that we're going through are sort of abandoning the prior standard because the Tesla standard supports higher power than the kind of the default standard right now.
Okay.
And so I think the other reason for the unreliability, Paul, might be that, you know, the power is supplied probably in a lot of cases by whoever the landlord is. And, you know, a lot of the chargers have to have chargeback systems through credit cards or whatever, where the person swipes a credit card, and that's another, you know, thing that could fail is if it doesn't read your credit card right. I think there's probably at least some vandalism amongst the
I've definitely heard of some hacks, some charging
EV
station
set.
hacks.
Yeah.
And I think some of the complexity is related to, I think there's a fair amount of handshaking that has to occur between the car and the charger. So whether it's, you know, a software problem or a firmware problem, or even maybe just a hardware interface that, you know, leads to failures.
Yep. Another thing.
I charge at home. You know, I've got a level 2 charger at home, and, you know, there's no intelligence whatsoever. I don't have any of Tesla's stuff. I just had Lloyd, the electrician, come in and, you know, give me a 220 into my garage, and, you know, it works flawlessly. So,
but even then, I think you're right, Jonathan. I think the car needs to know how much current it can draw based on where it's plugged into, so that it doesn't like immediately blow a fuse as soon as you plug it in.
right.
Well, I don't have an EV, but my neighbors do. So I took a look at their box when they were putting it in. They invited me over. So
You didn't go
and
lurking.
yeah, it's not just a power plug. I mean, it's got some circuitry in there. So when you plug when they plug their car into it, it probably does this whole handshake and says, you know,
Oh, yeah.
what do you have for me? I have 220. Okay, give me 220.
Right.
It's not just a power cord that you jam in there.
But I mean, I think a lot of people do that, but there's no need to. In fact, I opted not to do that because I wanted to preserve compatibility with, you know, subsequent cars that I might have that might not adhere to the Tesla standard. So mine basically looks like a straight power cord at 220, but
Okay.
Yeah.
there's no other electronics in it.
Yeah, they're not. This is not a Tesla thing. This is I don't know what it is, but it's their cars are not Teslas. So
Could
Well,
be
BM
charging or something. Yeah.
BMLD offers a time of use based system that if you don't charge during high electricity demand times, which happen a couple times a month, they will give you a $10 per month rebate on your electrical bill. And the way they accomplish that is they have a box which sits in between your wall outlet and your car that's connected to Wi-Fi and connects back to BMLD service provider, and then they can tell what hours of the day you're charging and disable the charging during the high usage hours, but you can then again override it if you want.
that may be what I was looking at.
Yeah, that might be because they had a pretty aggressive program to install those when they were first like rolling out a lot of EVs in town.
Anybody done any pen testing on that little box that they're deploying?
I think my neighbors might get annoyed.
I mean, that honestly, like that's something else that we should just kind of maybe raise in the meeting with BMLD, which is like, what is your infrastructure like IT wise? Like, you know, what do you have here? But then what's deployed out in the field, including at residences and businesses? Like, because if there are like little Arduino boxes out there with Wi-Fi connections talking back to, you know, some, you know, third-party cloud provider or to BMLD itself, like that's really relevant from a, you know, threat perspective. And, you know, that would be something where you'd be like, huh, well, we probably do want to like, you know, red team that little box or pen test it and just figure out if it is like a mess. Because my experience, a lot of those little devices are a mess security wise. Like security is just not part of the design process at all.
Just out of curiosity, I don't have an EV. I don't even have electrified garage doors, although I'm considering doing that, certainly. But
it's time, Charlie. It is time.
I know. Well, also age-wise, it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just out of curiosity, without getting into all the details, what was involved? Did you just run a cable essentially that was an extension from your circuit board inside your basement out to the garage, and it happened to be 10 cable?
Yeah, basically. But he had to fool around with my service panel because I barely had enough breakers. And you need to actually gain, you know, combine two breakers, right, to get 220. And the way, you know, the house is built in 1927 or something, you know, and over a few additions, you know, we've had various upgrades to the service, but we were running low on breakers. So he was able to move some things around to make it work for him. You know, grumbled a bit. So that was part of it. The other thing is, as you know, Charlie, we have a detached garage. And I don't know if you remember our backyard, but we have some, you know, stone pathways, whatever. So not only do I have to have Lloyd, the electrician, come and do his thing, but I need to get Kelly, RJ Kelly, to come out and dig a trench to put the cable in to go from the house to the garage. So all told, it was not an inexpensive proposition. Not at all. But it was, yeah, but straightforward in principle. because we didn't do any fancy electronics. It was just basically give us 220, 30 amps, 32 amps, with the right kind of connector. And then I just plug in the car to that.
Maybe this, I don't want to take up any more of the committee stuff, but perhaps I could give you a call and maybe make a site visit just to see how you're doing.
I think we can arrange that, Charlie. Yes.
Not at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? I think.
Right, at 8 in the morning. Yeah. And yeah, I welcome all to come, but I guess if more than 4 come at a time, then we have to have a quorum.
I'm sure these guys are much further ahead.
No, anytime, Charlie.
Jim, I think you're muted.
Hate that. I didn't want the AI recording me.
Probably reading your lips like hell.
Probably.
Yeah.
So the outlet, at least one we have, is basically a dryer outlet. It's 220, and it's got the circular kind of prongs that you plug into it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
This actually is a topic, even though it's sort of.
Yeah, no, it is. I guess I wonder with the library thing, should we just schedule a reconnect with the library building committee, and we can raise this issue, and also maybe just say, hey, since we last met, where do things stand? What decisions have been made, right?
Sounds like a good idea.
Maybe we can arrange that for like a December timeframe or something like that. Dave, do you have the meeting? Do you have the thread from the last time we met with the library people?
I have the notes that I took, and I think Jim also provided some notes to that, and I can dig those out.
Okay.
I don't remember much in the way of email, other than perhaps a little bit amongst ourselves.
Okay. Was it Peter that we interfaced with, or?
Primarily, he basically, handed it over to the architect and whatever the other companies were that were doing stuff. Is my recollection.
Okay. Well, I have to email him anyway, so I'll suggest that we do a repeat. Okay. Okay. So the final item on the agenda is the finalized new chair for ITAC. Dan very generously volunteered to co-chair last meeting, which is great. I did reach out to Kristen, and unfortunately she reiterated that she's not available to be a co-chair or a chair. She's just got too much going on personally and professionally right now to take it on. So that leaves us not quite back at square one, but maybe at square two. And I know Phil's not here. One thing I would suggest is maybe what we should think about doing is just going to a 1-year rotating chairpersonship, so that I don't blame any of you for being like, okay, well, I'm not signing up for a 6-year commitment or even a 3-year commitment. But maybe if we just let's just do this a rotating 1-year chairpersonship, and then if or co-chairpersonship, and then if there's one of you who wants to step up and co-chair with Dan for the next year, then we can meet in October next year and pick another one and just go that way, and keep it, and in some ways that might actually be good for the committee to do that. So that was something that came to mind. But
I guess my only comment to that would be, I think 1 year might be a little short. I think 2 years probably is workable. I think there's some benefit in having a 2 continuity over at least a couple of years. I don't feel strongly about it, but it's sort of being my observation over the.
I know there's a report that we are supposed to file. We do file every year. When is that? Maybe it should be based on
I think it's
that.
Usually around now, that we're putting
Yeah,
that.
because it probably shouldn't be the very first thing that a new incoming chair does is write that
Well, that's
report.
true in terms of timing.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, honestly, maybe after town elections is probably a better time to do a handoff, the sort of May, June time period. But, and then they get, the summer to kind of come up to speed. But I'm totally flexible, or you could have it be after the new year or something like that. But yeah, I hear you. That's true. So I'm flexible. I hear you, Jonathan. I don't disagree. But if it's an easier to swallow and just say, hey, it's a 1 year commitment, and then I'll hand off, then I'm open for that too. Obviously, that's what the select board does, and seems to work okay there.
Well, I can say that I'd be more comfortable with a 1 year commitment. And I haven't done it yet. I've been doing the secretary thing for a really long time.
For it, do you want to do a co-chair with Dan?
I could do that, but I would then ask somebody else to take on the minutes while we're doing it.
Well, we might move to a rotating secretary role. I think that might be
Right.
that's more common, and I'd be happy to partake in that, as I'm sure the other members would, especially now that we have AI assistants to basically do all of it.
Well, let's see if it's any good first.
I wonder if Kristen would be open to the idea of becoming the new secretary. There's less, preparation work between meetings.
Yeah, let's get the chair squared away, and then we can figure out what to do with the secretary, maybe next meeting. But Dave, if you are open to it, then that's great. I think that would be awesome.
So it'd be Dan and Dave. Yes.
Yeah. Do we need to vote on this?
Yes, we do.
Do we have a quorum if Dave and I don't vote, or can we vote for ourselves?
You can vote for yourselves. Yeah.
Okay.
You vote for yourself.
Yeah. So I'm gonna move to appoint Dan Ellard and David Goldberg as well. Do we want to do chair and vice chair? I think, right? So David Goldberg as chair and Dan Ellard as vice chair of the.
I think technically we've always had somebody called vice chair. And well, I guess we don't this time around. We used to have someone called vice chair, and it really didn't have much meaning. Maybe it did a really long time ago. I don't remember. I would stick with co-chair to be very clear that we're sharing the duties.
Okay. All right. So I guess we do these one at a time. So I would like to nominate David Goldberg to be chair of the IT Advisory Committee.
The co-chair. Co-chair.
Co-chair, yes.
Second it.
Okay. And all in favor? I'll say aye. So I think we need to do this voice vote. So Jonathan Green,
Aye.
Jim Barrett,
Aye.
Charlie Smart, Dan Ellard, that's an aye.
Aye.
Charlie, yes, right?
Yes.
Okay, Dan Ellard, aye. Paul Roberts, aye. David,
Yep.
okay,
Aye.
unanimous.
Yep.
Somebody want to nominate Dan as the co-chair, as the other co-chair?
I will
So
nominate.
moved. Okay, I'll let Jim do it. It's easier for me to
Well,
write. Jim did it.
Yeah, I'll nominate.
Jim
Dan Ellard
nominated,
for this
Charlie seconded.
co-chair.
Okay. And once again, anybody issues, anybody who have concerns, objections? No.
Well, when accepted, I'd like to congratulate the new co-chairs and also to note
Very excited.
neither one of them is over the age of 80. So we really
That is true. That is
Over
true.
what?
Dave would be now left on a limb though if we didn't vote for Dan.
I
So-
didn't hear what Charlie said. Maybe I don't want to know.
Oh, we're out of time. Gotta go. No,
That's all. You're not rivaling Joe Biden.
it's true. No
I'm working on it,
septuagenarians
but
here.
I'm not there yet.
So all in favor, I'll start. Paul Roberts, aye.
Jim Barrett's aye.
Charlie Smart, I.
Dave Goldberg, aye.
Dan,
Jonathan
aye.
Green, aye.
Dan Ellard, aye. Great, unanimous. Really thrilled, both of you. Great leadership, and I think next meeting, I agree, Charlie, might be better to have a permanent secretary. We got whatever, 3 people missing, 4 people. What do we have? 3 people missing. So hopefully next meeting we will have a full roster, and we can maybe somebody would, Kristen or somebody would be, or Jonathan or something. John would be interested in stepping up and being secretary. If not, I feel like we could go and do a rotating secretary role and be okay. But okay, excellent. Hey, Dave and Dan, thank you so much for volunteering.
You're welcome. And we'll have questions about things like when we need to send the agenda in for approval.
Oh, I know all about that.
Okay, well, you can school me on that then.
You would not, I mean, Dave has been basically not doing it, but if not for him, we would have.
I've been nagging Paul. I can nag myself just as well.
And
So
we,
Dave, you're now the chairman, so you're now the chair. So I'm going to hand the reins over to you and to wrap up this meeting.
Just one quick thing. I have a Zoom account if you want me to use that, Paul, or are you willing to keep doing setting up the Zoom links? What's the preference?
Yeah, happy to keep setting up the Zoom links. Yeah, it's fine.
And can we count on you to deal with the recordings and putting them on YouTube and all that? Because that's not my strength.
Yes, although I do need to hand over, the credentials for the various social media accounts and stuff like that. So the Facebook and can't remember if we've got a Twitter account, and the Facebook page, we may have a Twitter account. I can't remember, and the YouTube channel, and I think we have a Gmail account as well for just the committee. So
How is the mailing list managed? Is that through Google, or is that something?
Yeah,
else?
it's just a Google list. There's a number of us. I forget when we originally set it up, but I guess it was probably sometime after Simpson left. And but a number of us have admin rights to that, and I can add you to the list of admins.
Okay. I just know Google kind of stopped doing their mailing lists a while back. I guess it's lucky we still have it.
No, they still do Google groups, as far as I can tell.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
maybe it's just me.
I think it was Yahoo maybe that stopped.
Yeah. Well, yeah, pretty much stopped everything.
Dave, do you use a password manager like 1Password?
I do. I use standalone. I use password safe.
Okay.
The idea of a cloud hosted password manager
Wow, yeah.
scares the hell out of me, and the LastPass stuff makes me feel really good about it. Although I'm not totally immune, since I keep my database on at least one cloud service so I can access it from my phone.
Well, like what 1Password was wrapped up in that Okta breach this week too. Like they were one of the customers that got targeted.
What a
Although,
surprise!
from what I understand, like they're not like LastPass. Like all the data.
They seem to have a better. Management of the storage and so on.
Right.
I couldn't believe when I read that LastPass didn't encrypt everything.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what? Why the hell not?
Yeah. I mean, I moved off it like right away. But anyway. Okay. Yes.
So
Sure.
I just want to reiterate, we put this on our agenda last week. I just want to say thank you again, Paul, for your excellent leadership of this committee over the last many, many years, and really in advocating for the town in terms of IT and this committee's engagement in the town schools, library, IT activity. So really appreciated that. I think Dan and Dave have some big shoes to step into.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Jim. Well, you know, I mean,
Yeah, thank you.
I would encourage us to stay noisy and to, you know, not worry about elbowing our way into discussions, because I do, you know, I mean, looking back on the last year, like, you know, the fact, and honestly, I blame myself a little bit for this, you know, the fact that the school department hired a new IT director without, you know, getting us in the loop, and, you know, that they're making, you know, technology, you know, pretty sizable technology purchases or new investments. And, you know, they have us as a resource and just don't often, I think, just don't know to use us. So I do think this idea of, yeah, a little, you know, card or something that we can just circulate to them to remind us, like, hey, we've got this internal consultancy we can use is, you know, I'd like to see us tapped a lot more. So, but this IR stuff is big, and, you know, hopefully that'll get us in the face of a lot of the different IT groups in town. And, you know, the end result of that might be that we get called more often. So,
Yeah, I think part of the issue and people not realizing that we are sort of across the various parts of the town sources, that the town is very siloed.
yeah, it's a structural thing. Yeah.
Oh, there's a committee out there that has a certain type of expertise and is willing to work with the MLD, the town, the library, and the school.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also, like, I think there's a real tendency for the groups, for the functions within town that have their own IT staff, that any technology question that comes up, they like turn to the IT person, like, what do we do? You know, kind of not, which is understandable, but those people are involved in the day-to-day operations. There is a whole other sort of like long-term strategy, you know, what's coming down the road, like just kind of strategy versus tactic conversation that this committee's better suited to do. But they do need to, you know, like, that low IT person absolutely needs to be part of the conversation, but they probably shouldn't be the only person you ask about this question, right? Like, this is Belmont. We've got a pretty deep bench of talent that is available. And, you know, I think we could get some better outcomes if we're involved in more of these decisions. So,
Yeah, I think we need to make sure that when people think about us, they're not thinking about like, well, if we call them, it'll open a can of worms and we'll have endless discussions about every possibility.
Yeah.
When all we want to do is get a decision, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think, you know, regardless of whether they decide to use us, we can continue to do what we've done the past few years, which is to set our own deliverables and our own agenda and,
Yep.
you know, pursue those and, you know, be the, you know, Boozell and Hamilton, or, you know, PwC of Belmont, and just sort of say, you know, we've done the research, here's a report, and do with it what you will. So, I mean, that's
Yep.
always, you know, we can continue to do that. But I do like the way we've, you know, engaged more with different groups and building committees and stuff like that. I think that's a good direction to go in. Cool. Mr. Chair.
Should we schedule our next meeting? Or
Yeah.
do we have more items on the agenda?
I think that was the last item on the agenda, except for schedule our next meeting.
Okay, let's take a look.
The next meeting is tentatively third Thursday in November would be the 16th, the week before Thanksgiving.
Well, so first of all, our next meeting is tentatively the 9th of November. Well, that's not true.
No,
That's
because
not a
those are
meeting.
not going to be ITAC meetings official.
Disregard. So third Thursday is the 16th.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wouldn't try to put it to the week after.
No.
No,
That
no.
actually works out well with the holiday and stuff. So why don't we plan on that, unless other people have issues?
No issues.
No, that's clear for me.
Okay.
Same time, same place, right?
Same
Yep.
bat
Time,
channel.
same bat channel. I will send out I will set up a Zoom meeting, Dave, and send it out. And then, you know, obviously we can put in the agenda whenever we want.
Would it
Yep.
make sense to have a recurring link, or would you prefer to make a new link each time just to keep the Zoom bombers at bay or something?
It's typically considered a best practice to do a different one each
Yeah.
time, for that very reason.
Okay.
It's funny. We've gone with for services at the temple, you know, a permanent one because it's too hard to change it on a regular basis. And they've set it up so that they change it, like, I think quarterly is their expected schedule. At least 5 or 6 times they've had to do emergency changes because of the Zoom bombers.
I had
That's
a
unfortunate.
meetup where we had I was like,
Yeah.
I just at my company, people figure that my Zoom account is like the default meeting, and so like everybody I've invited to a meeting at any point seems to think that they can just use it for whatever they want. Sometimes I have to go and wrench it back.
so you try and start the meeting and it's like, this meeting's already in process, or
Yeah, but it gives me a nice button because I am the owner and I can just say,
No.
bye, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys got to learn how to make your
Yeah.
own Zoom links at this point.
Yeah, really, no kidding. Not rocket science.
Maybe you could rent yours out.
Then they would figure it out real quick. No, they got Zoom accounts for everybody in the company that went to the effort of asking for them at the beginning of COVID, but there's still people who like are figuring it out because, you know, if everyone else is setting up meetings for them, then you learn to do what you need to learn.
Yep.
And then we got Teams, and now the whole world is split between Teams and Zoom.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Somebody make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Hi.
Hey, Judd, thanks so much.
Wait, I have a random question about the rules of meetings. Can chairs introduce motions? Are we in trouble now that we have 2 chairs, that we have 2 people who can't introduce motions? Or I know other organizations I'm part of, the chair cannot introduce motions.
I'd have to look at the bylaws.
I've never,
I've never heard that a chair couldn't. I know we've done it in the
I think it's
past.
customary for them not to, but I don't think there's a
I
specific.
don't think there's a rule. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think, I mean, I remember way back when reading Robert's Rules of Order, and I don't think that was an issue that I can recall.
Okay, that I'm just asking, I'm not suggesting.
Yeah.
Or anything in
Yeah,
particular.
I'll look into it, but I don't think there's an actual prohibition. I just think it's customary for somebody other than the chair to introduce stuff. So, and again, there are 9 of us, Dan. So I really
The
don't.
chair, yeah, the chair can always say, would somebody like to make a motion?
Yes.
Dot, dot,
I
dot.
will entertain a motion.
I will
Yes.
entertain it. Exactly.
Yeah.
See, you've already got the language down. Dan. All right. Ciao, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy
Good night.
Halloween.
Good night.
Happy Halloween.